Good evening, everyone. Welcome to People's Voice Season 2. Mechanical engineers. They say the world does revolve around them, and I cannot agree more. Those inventions that brought by mechanical engineers have changed the face of the world. Wheel and Exley, an invention of Bruno Cities, a powerful, simple machine. Without that, in the modern world, it is difficult to even imagine our travels. Aircraft that has brought the world closer was the invention of late Wright brothers. And today, at People's Voice Season 2, we have similar fascinating and affable personality who will share his treasure of knowledge about his business that he has commenced in the year 2016. So without much ado, let's invite him. And I can see he is in the chat room. Hey Giri, Rahena, thanks for joining. I hope you all are doing well and enjoying season 2. Hey Jagtap, I really appreciate that you all are joining in for season 2. Hey Sougata.
Hi Nasima, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I believe it's 8 in Kuwait. So let's start. And before we dive into our conversation, let me introduce you very shortly. Sougata Pahari is a mechanical engineer from India and has completed a master's degree in materials engineering from Milan, Italy. Following his study, Sougata has worked for an Italian firm in Italy and the USA which designed electronic equipment for the railway electronics industry. In 2016, he migrated to Canada and 3 months later founded Korechi Innovation, a Canadian corporation specializing in design of autonomous robots for farming and turf care. With that, I welcome you, Sougata, in People's Voice Season 2.
Thank you for inviting me, Nasima.
Sougata, I think your voice is little low.
Would you like me to speak up? Is this better?
A little louder?
Is this better?
Yeah, much better. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Let's start with about your firm. What exactly is Korechi Innovation is all about?
Sure. So Korechi Innovations is a firm I started in 2016, and at Korechi we specialize in design and construction of autonomous robots in 3 primary areas: farming, particularly vineyards and orchards, and then golf courses, which is under turf care. And the third one, we've recently delved into this field, and that's for construction.
Okay. So that's all about Korechi Innovation. And Saugata, sorry, you were saying something.
No, yeah, in case you're wondering what Korechi means, it's actually a Bengali word for I or we have done it. Essentially, it's the Bengali version of Eureka.
Okay.
I found Korechi.com readily available, so I took it.
Okay, nice to hear that we have Bengali name in Canada, and I'm sure this company is doing well. I got to know whatever from you. It's quite interesting to know our Indian going out there and doing such an innovative work in different countries. So,
Thank you.
Saugata, as I mentioned in my introduction, you had working experience with reputed companies and in different countries, and that could easily land you a very good job in Canada. Then what? What made you embark your entrepreneur journey?
Sure. I always wanted to, start a business or get into a startup as soon as I finished my bachelor's. But I was dissuaded by my dad not to do so. He said, "No, you need more experience before you go ahead with that," and he was right. Fortunately, I just went for my master's in Milan, And in Italy, the economy is not doing so well, so it wasn't the best place to do a startup. And there's also a language barrier. I know a little bit of Italian, but it's nowhere close to the native proficiency. Yeah. So when we moved to Canada, um, I had that somewhere in the back of my mind. But when I went for job search, maybe I wasn't looking hard enough instinctively. So I wasn't actually able to land a good job. And I was like, okay, this may be a sign from up there that just go ahead and start up. And, you actually have an excuse this time that startup might be the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there since 2016.
That's good. And it's good to hear that you know Italian language as well. I'm sure it will be helpful in your venture. Does it help somewhere in your business?
Oh yes, when we converse with potential Italian clients, that time it does come handy here. And it's when you go to an Italian restaurant, you can order quite easily. You know what the words there mean.
Uh-huh.
It's beautiful language, beautiful culture. But unfortunately, the economy wasn't doing so well, so I had to leave.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Saugata, to start a new venture, any venture, wherever, anywhere, in any corner of the world, isn't a piece of cake for sure. How you have sailed through it and got the stability that Qureshi is having now.
But honestly, Korechi is still far from stable. We're still in the growth phase, and until we have consistent revenues flowing in month after month and growing every month, I wouldn't call us stable. But yes, we have come a long way since we began, and since we began, we have pivoted twice. We started off with a robot that would be used for measuring ice thickness, because during winter time, everything is frozen here. So people mistakenly walk onto frozen lakes, frozen ponds, and they do fall through in most cases. And so our robot was supposed to solve that problem. A few months into it, we realized that there isn't a big enough market potential here, and people are solving that problem through other methods. Then we pivoted once more, and that time we were using a bigger version of the same robot for painting lines in athletic facilities, such as soccer fields, football, and so on. And there again, we realized, I guess it's not very easy to sell to municipal corporations, and because of the red tape around it, because of the rules around it. And then we pivoted once more, and right now we're in the agri sector, where we basically thought that we will be using the same method of marking dangerous ice or marking lines on the ground. If we point the nozzle sidewards, we can fumigate plants, but that's not what we're doing right now. So I would say one of the most important factors for surviving in this age is be ready to pivot. And anyway, the statistics show an average successful startup pivots 3.5 times, through its lifetime. So you have to be very willing to move. You can't have a disposition. No, I like this field, so I'm going to stick into it. In most cases, that doesn't work, unfortunately.
So you cannot say, no, we can't do this, not that. You have to be ready for anything and any scenario when you are an entrepreneur.
Yes, yes. But there is also a certain condition where, you know, too many projects, like too many cooks spoil the broth. It's like that. If you have too many projects running at the same time, it could take you away from being, very good. You'll end up being a, what do you say, jack of all trades instead of being a master of one. And master of one in this case is very important.
True.
You need to be the best in that particular field to survive.
Absolutely. Yesterday we had the guest. He also said the same thing. The quality is the most important thing. You have to be master of what you are offering, what service you have, what product you have. So I'm sure all the entrepreneur out there got one message clear that if you want to be a business, you have to provide high quality service.
Yes.
So, Gata, when we were having conversation earlier, then you mentioned to me that your clients are mainly government. Your product you need to sell to the government. So, how easy it is to deal with them, and what are the challenges while dealing with them?
Sure. So our clients should have been mostly government agencies. I'll give you an example. Like when during our second pivot, when we were designing the robots for line marking applications in athletic facilities. So just to give you an idea, Hamilton has about 245 fields, and each of them have smaller fields. So, for example, a soccer, which is football essentially, well, everywhere outside North America, it's much larger than a handball court. So you have the soccer field painted in white and the handball court painted in yellow, for instance. Uh, at the beginning of the season, the workers have to go and mark all 245 fields. And then every week they have to be repainted because the paint is washable. So it rains and the paint gets eroded, and you mow the grass at least once a week. So that is one good example of where our robots would have been very useful. Now, selling to municipalities became a problem, and they were very open. The city of Hamilton was very open to us. They gave us lots of very useful insights that we used for our design. But where we face the problem is that selling to municipality is not easy. For instance, they typically need three competing codes. We told them we are probably the only company in Canada doing this. How are you going to even collect three codes, as an example? And so basically what it came to be was that there wasn't enough what do you say the rules around purchasing for these municipalities were such that it's relatively restrictive to do business with them. But once you crack that nut,
Okay.
then there's a lot of business in that area, because now you have the sales from one municipality to support your claims for the other municipality, and makes the sale easier. So we'll still be working towards that. But typically speaking, this field and the defense industry, for instance, they're very hard to crack.
Okay, all right. So is it their approval from all the municipality you needed to execute a project or to give your product to them?
No, to sell, they would typically need, three competing offers. Or like three tender. They put out a tender, and they need at least three offers,
Okay.
and they'll go with the best of them.
Okay.
Usually price, and then for additional capabilities and so on. But that's where we started facing the problem. We were the only one in the market making something like that in the whole of Canada. There was one other competing product, but that's more in the Europe, not even US. Later on, they moved to US after our pivot.
Oh, okay, that's great. That sounds great. Sugata, before we move on to my questions that I have, one of our viewers have a question for you. He says,
Okay.
as a businessman, are you able to juggle and bring balance between your professional and personal life?
It's relatively easier right now because all I'm doing is my business. I'm not going for any side jobs of any sort. And it helps because we are a startup and true to the Silicon Valley method, we started off in our garage. We are working out of the garage. So literally, my workday begins at like 7 o'clock and ends at 11 o'clock. But I don't have to travel. So many people have to travel far away. So when I want decide to go to bed, I can just go and lie down there. Yeah, but it is challenging at times. Yes, you need to spend time with your family. Becomes a little bit hard at times. You make up for it during the weekend. You need to have a strict, policy that a discipline that you set up. That okay, no matter what happens, I'm not going to work on this particular day. I'm going to spend time with family.
Oh,
It's harder than it sounds.
okay. So your workstation is your home. So whenever you want to switch between two life, you can easily do it, right?
Yeah, at this point where our workforce isn't that large, it's possible. Once we start growing, we'll have to get a bigger facility. It won't be possible. I guess I'll have a different answer at that time.
I, uh, I hope you get your own office, your workspace very soon. Saugata, I was reading about Romeo I.O. Robot on your website that works in a vineyard to cut grasses, watches, and counts grapes and fertilizers. I want to know why there is a need of such robots.
Sure. So especially in the North American context, labor is very hard to come by over here. So
Mhm.
we have we have a deficit of labor. So every summer, every late spring, in fact, we import labor from outside, and that's not always easy. Especially, last year it was difficult. This year it is terrible because of the COVID-19. And as soon as the workers come, you have to quarantine them for 14 days, which is not easy because that's 14 days that they're being paid for but not able to work. So all of this makes it a bit difficult. But yes, so in order to get the best out of a person, or rather a plant, I would say it's the same about a person. You need to give them individual attention. It's
Um,
completely impractical to do it using manual labor for a vineyard, for instance. So in a vineyard per acre, you may have say 1,000 plants, 1,000 vines, and
mhm.
so each of them you need to measure how much water they're consuming, and are they under any kind of stress due to heat or due to any other factors. And then you might need to give them more individual attention, maybe juggle change the for fertilization or the irrigation scheme for them. This is absolutely impossible using manual means. Automation is the only way to go. And honestly, even though Canada now has a minimum wage policy that's about $14, it's supposed to rise to 15 soon per hour. uh, it is almost impossible to make business profitable that way. I mean, nobody will farm because it's not profitable. And you see the results compared to 1950. The total land under fruit cultivation in Canada has halved. That's because it's labor intensive and it's less profitable.
Oh,
So there's no way around it. You have to automate, especially in North American context, where there is less availability of labor and they're expensive. And they don't want to actually work on a farm. I mean, nobody aspires to be a farmer these days, at least.
oh, that's tough. So mainly it's because of logistic logistical reasons. Mainly you prefer to have robot automation for such kind of work, if I'm not wrong.
Not just logistics, it's also the affordability and what are the capabilities. For instance, our robot can go and look for diseases in plants 24/7. All it needs is electric charge. That's it.
Oh,
You
okay.
cannot have humans do that. It's impractical for humans to go around a 200-acre vineyard with a light and look for diseases in every single leaf. A robot can do that much faster and without getting tired. So now you're not just talking about saving money, but now you're talking about capabilities that could not be done before. For instance, if a particular part of your vineyard is needs fumigation, you can focus on that instead of fumigating the whole field. I mean, it's not pretty to see that your food, which you're supposed to eat, is being sprayed by somebody wearing a hazmat suit. No, that's a scary. People don't want to share those pictures on the web, but they are there.
So due to such reason, you think there is a need of a robot in agricultural field and the other field because there are certain kind of work which cannot be done by a human workforce.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So Saugata, isn't it? Don't you believe that such kind of advanced technology taking away the opportunity from human workforce?
So in Canada, the early summer was actually a good testing ground for that particular question. So farmers were willing to pay more than the minimum wage to Canadian students and people come and work on the farms. Yet there was very little participation. Even though those people are laid off, they're not willing to work on a farm. Farming is hard. It's backbreaking. You have to stay out in the sun all day. It's very uncomfortable, and especially in this part of the world, most people don't aspire to be farmers, as I said before. So, in North American context, at least, these robots are, there's no way around it. These robots are, you are supposed to continue farming with robots. And we are not the only one. There's so many other companies building robots for different applications in the field. Yeah. But if it was for Asia, primarily South Asia, we know that labor is affordable enough, and what do you say? You have enough people there willing to work in farms that you can actually make profit. So we wouldn't actually even venture into Southeast Asia or Africa for this kind of application.
Okay, so all right. So you believe that automation is not replacing in any which way the opportunity that human workforce can get. You mean that? It's not gonna.
Automation in farming, at least, and automation in farming in North America. It's a very unique niche where labor is less and wages are high and efficiency is less. You
Okay.
can basically invert these parameters and make your farm profitable by using robots and give better quality food to people, safer food, because now you don't have to fumigate your fields every time it rains. That's what you have to do here. It's a preventive fumigation, applying chemicals so that it doesn't catch a disease just after a rain.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Uh, After talking to you, I had the misconception about the automation, the robots when I was going through your website. But now my doubt is clear that no, it's not affecting the job opportunity of human being, but it is an advantage when such kind of robots, automation devices are used in different fields, not only in agriculture. With
That's right. And I'll give you another example. For instance, the ATM machines.
yeah.
Now, ATM machines replace so many manual tellers at the banks. It doesn't mean that, so they give us certain advantages. You can go to a bank, go to the ATM machine 24/7 and withdraw money. That it adds to the economy in so many other ways. And those people who used to work at the teller either re-educate themselves for better jobs or for different jobs, and that's, if you're not flexible, you can't survive in this industry or any industry whatsoever. So I think that's it's unavoidable. You'll have to go in that direction.
Absolutely. I believe that we have to accept all the advanced technology and find the different way to increase the job opportunity for our workforces out there. So,
Yes.
Saugata, what's next invention for you for Korechi Innovation? Great.
Yes. So there are different aspects. I mean, basically, we still have our Romeo platform, and we just keep adding more and more benefits to it. We want to see this as as one of the staples. Any farm you go, a robot like this is there. Hopefully, our robot, and it's able to do different tasks, as I said. But when it comes to the next invention, it's not just me; it's a whole team who contribute to it. It's basically making it smarter, so that right now we still need a human to tell it what to do. In the future, I mean, in the next 3 to 5 years, we want it to go out and do it by itself, not being told what to do, but do it itself. At the most, it'll be basically ask you for a confirmation. Do you want me to do this? Instead of you telling it, go and do this. It requires a lot of machine learning, a lot of data, so that we have enough data points to train our machine learning algorithms to go in that direction.
I really hope, Sugata, that everywhere in every province there is a robot from Korechi Innovation.
But I hope in every farm there's one one of our robots, not province. For instance, Niagara, yeah, the Niagara region has 500 vineyards. I wish we have one of our robots in every one of them.
I hope so. The way you and your team is working hard, I'm sure you will reach that pinnacle of success. But
Thank
we are almost towards the end. But we want to know from you as a founder of Korechi Innovation, where you see your firm is going after a few years down the line.
I don't know what the future holds, but I can tell you what I would like to see uh, in future. I would like, as I said, our robot should be a staple of the industry, and basically have less people being able to do more, because the people who are actually doing some simple things like going and just measuring the size, the diameter of an apple, for instance, you don't need human ingenuity for that. So the human workforce should be trained for more capable things that the robots can't do. So when it comes to Korechi, I would like to see us getting smarter and smarter, and selling to, at least in the next 5 years, we want to sell not just in North America, but also expand to Europe, whose population is also quite good. And they also have some labor problems, not as much as North America, but they do have quite a benefit too.
I hope Korechi Innovation keeps getting smarter and smarter day after day. Saugata, we have one more interesting question from our viewers. She says, from your experience, what are the three main skills one needs to have to jump into entrepreneurship?
And I think the most important skill, and given what I have seen with other founders and how many founders have actually stopped, they've gone for a regular job. I think the most important aspect you need is resiliency. You're going to be disappointed for 364 days, and maybe the 365th day you're going to get some success. You have to be resilient for the 354 days. And it's not easy. That is one. And second is be ready to change. I mean, whatever preconceived notion you have in your head on how an industry or a product should function, ignore that and listen to what the market says. If the market says that I don't like this I don't like this kind of an activity, but the market is asking for that, you see all the indications that it's the market is ready to accept that, then you go ahead and make that product or make that modification to your product so that it's sold over there and you can make money. And the third one is not just for startup, but I think you have to choose your friends very carefully. When you make a friend, you give them the ability to influence you. And so if you have to choose very carefully whom you call friends and make sure their influence is actually adding to your experience or capabilities or you as a person, it has to be positive. Otherwise, they're just acquaintances.
Very well said, Saugata. Resilience, acceptable for the market changes, and choose your friends carefully. I hope
Yes.
she got her answer very well. And now, before we sign off, Saugata, I would like to have an advice for all our viewers, for our young and aspiring entrepreneurs. For any advice that you would like to give as an entrepreneur?
I think it would be the same 3 points I just answered in the previous question, especially for being an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I mean, every farmer is an entrepreneur. So it's please don't be, scared by the world of entrepreneurship. Every farmer is an entrepreneur. Every person who sells groceries is an entrepreneur. Everything is everything is in some way some sort of business. You are yourself an entrepreneur when you're selling your services to a company. Basically, you're working for them. Essentially, you are an entrepreneur in the lowest in the most basic sense of the meaning. You're selling your what do you say, your productivity, your resilience, your knowledge to this company, and that's why you're an entrepreneur. So I don't think you should think too much about that. Yes, if have a make good friends and if you are getting married, choose a life partner who would support your decisions, or at least fact check you on your decisions to make sure that you're not being strayed away.
So basically, choose your inner circle very carefully when you are an
Oh
entrepreneur.
yes, that's very important, and that goes that's true even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur actually.
Absolutely, yes. But so I'm sure that people who are listening and who will watch this video will get a very wiseful advice to be resilient, accept the change. As you said, it's not only in entrepreneurship. As a human being, we have to accept changes around us and then march on further. And of course,
Yes,
we have to choose our people carefully, whoever they are.
right.
With that, thank you so much, Saugata, for sharing your wisdom with all of us. I'm sure whoever will watch this video will drive home some message through this video. Thank you once again, Saugata.
Thank you for inviting me, Nasima. It's great to interact with you.
Same here. Take care.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
So that was Sougata Pahari, mechanical engineer who have a Korechi Innovation in back in Canada. I hope you enjoy this video, this session. If you have any questions, any doubts, please DM to me or comment on this video. And also I want to say that we cannot take all the questions just in 30 minutes, but we will try to answer as much as we can. Thank you. Take care. Good night.